Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had a nice first day in the TYPO3 conference, and welcome to the second day after the nice presentation we had this morning. Now I'm going to talk about, this is the future day, but I'm talking about the near future, which will be the next release of the TYPO3 CMS, which will be the 6.2 LTS version. So this is the topic for the next 45 minutes. I hope I can make the time. So the roadmap for today, or for this talk, is I want to talk a bit about the history, what happened since the version 4.5, because most or many of you are probably still stuck with the version 4.5 and don't even know what happened in between until the version 6.2. So I'll give a brief history of what happened in the last 2 years or 3 years. Then I will tell you a bit about what will be new in the version 6.2 and where we're currently standing in this development phase. Then I will give a peek preview if I have a time, because yesterday I tried to time my presentation and I wasn't able to give myself a peek preview. So maybe some little stuff I can show you. And then there will be a question and answer section at the end where you can ask me everything you want. Or I can ask you everything I want. A bit about myself. First, my name is Ernesto Baschny. I co-own a company called THY3CON13DE IT as a web agency here in Stuttgart nearby since 2002. I'm a core developer on a TYPO3 CMS since 2004 and was elected back then, 2010, the release manager of the first long-term support version of TYPO3, which was the version 4.5, which many of you might know. And then later on in this year, people decided that I had to do it again. The next LTS version should have the same release manager again. So here I am. Thank you. I'm glad that you like it. So what happened since version 4.5? You might remember this was the release logo on the typo3.org homepage in 2011. In the beginning of 2011, we had decided to make this release long 3 years, so it will be supported until 2014. After that came some releases which some of you might know, but some might haven't seen it already. Some new features that we added were like the XLIFT support. So it's a new XML, a standard XML for language or for translation. A new translation server was added at that time. A nice form extension was built and integrated. HTML5 front-end rendering, and what's important also for our new version is that the deprecation strategy starts kicking in with 4.6. I will come back to that later on and explain to you what this means to you if you're wanting to upgrade to the newer versions. And then after 4.6 and 4.7, we came to the year 2012 with a decision, what should we do? What will be the next version? Will it be 4.8? What will it be 5.0, which was being in the air for some time already? So we decided that the development of the CMS won't stop, regardless of that we at the same time we're building on the new framework called the TYPO3 Flow, and a new CMS called NEOS. So we didn't want to stop the development, and we decided to raise the major version of TYPO3 to make it apparent to the people that we will want to continue developing and integrating also new features, and it won't be stuck in the maintenance phase until 4.99 or something. So, and we raised it to version 6 because version 5 was somehow reserved name for the upcoming rewritten version of the TYPO3, which didn't worked the way we planned it to work. So the NEOS, which will be the new CMS version that's being developed, will be released in a version 1.0 at first, And we decided to skip the version 5 to make some confusion, maybe. So, and then we identified that there is a demand for a new LTS version, because the LTS version 4.5 will be expiring in 1 year, and people were afraid what happens to their big customers afterwards, because they want to sell the LTS version. So we decided we will do a new LTS version. And we also decided that the overlapping between the two LTS versions should be 1 year. So as soon as we release 6.2, there will be 1 year of still support of 4.5. So in this year will be the time where people can consider the upgrades on their systems. And we also decided that we want to improve the quality assurance using new tools and using new systems that were being used in the PHP community. So we integrated continuous integration with Jenkins. We integrated Travis, which does PHP unit tests upon every commit. We had a person, this Christian Kuhn, as our quality assurance responsible. He made sure that our testing environment was always working, and raised awareness in our team about quality and about testing, unit tests, and now also functional tests. So this was also very important to continue our development and to refactoring stuff and to doing new stuff. So we decided that CMS will continue. We will converge to Neos Flow in a sense that we will adapting technologies, or we will using technologies that were being experimented in Flow and Neos, and we want to make sure that we are in the right track technologically thinking. And if people want to continue to use CMS for what it is, people will be able to do it for a long time still. So then came the big new release of the version 6.0 in 2012 with Helmut Hummel as a release manager. And the big change, the most apparent change if you are a developer looking at the code, is the introduction of namespaces. So we moved all files to new namespacing schema. And at the same time, and during this year, also the Flow and the Neos team and many other PHP projects, by the way, moved to this new namespace scheme, basically because PHP 5.3 introduced this support. We adapted, or we reworked our bootstrapping code, which is basically the functionality that starts on every request, the whole framework, and it's much more. It's much cleaner bootstrapping code. It's better for our testing, and it's much easier to adapt. And it's in one place only, and not scattered throughout the versions init PHP, index PHP, like it was before. There was a new X-class handling, also looking at how Flow does the object replacements, and this was introduced also in 6.0. We introduced the feature that was already planned for 4.5, which was the file abstraction layer. We've done many interactions with this, and finally it was included in 6.0, and it's still being fine-tuned for the version 6.2. We will see that later on. And the new and very nice centralized core supported categorization API, so that we have a system where people can categorize their objects or their records using core functionality. So, and now this is now the release agenda. Some of you might know, does it work? Yeah, it's you'll see now that the version 4.5, which was released not in April, but in January, in fact, will be released not until October. This is not updated yet, but until December, because we are releasing 6.2 in December. I will show you later on the roadmap of 6.2, but it was shifted until December, not October. The original plan was in fact, to release it during the T3CON, but it turned out it's not possible due to many things we still had to do. And so that you see that we are still supporting 4.5, 4.6 is not being supported anymore, so the support ended here. 4.7 is still being supported. It indeed was extended support until mid of the next year. Versions for the 6.0, 6.1 are still supported, and we usually deprecate one version to deprecate a release 2 versions later. So as soon as we release version 6.2, the version 6.0 will be dropped from support. What happens after that? Here is written 6.2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3. It's not clearly defined yet. This is just our 6-month release cycle drawn in. But considering that we will release the version 6.2 in December and not in October, we'll probably not release right away in April. So it might be that the next release will be only in October. And if it will be a 6.3 or 7.0, we're not yet sure. It will be decided during the end of this year or the beginning of the next year. So this is basically where we stand at. And you see in this graph, we are at the end of the development phase of the 6.2. This is the development phase, and the release is coming soon. So let's see in specific the release 6.2 and the timeline, where we stand. This is this year, 2013. I forgot to write it here, but you might remember in end of April we released 6.1, and then right after that we kickstarted during an active contributors meeting in Nuremberg the release of 6.2, and then the development phase starts, and we released some alpha versions, alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. In between we had plenty of code sprints, and we have the developer days where we also had a meeting with our team to discuss stuff. Then we released Alpha 3 beginning of October. We had a bigger code sprint in Hanover to finish up features that we wanted to add. And finally, we released Beta 1. That's the latest release version of 6.2 of sneak preview, which signalize that in this phase we start the feature freeze phase. So we are now in a feature freeze phase, meaning we are not adding any feature anymore, except with some exceptions. So there are features that are required for people that are wanting to upgrade from 4.5. Then there are some features that were already planned in the kickoff and are almost done, something like this, which will be might be integrated during the next phase, but no new features will emerge that are not already known during the next phase. Then we'll have a beta 2 in the mid of November, and finally December the 12th is the date where we release 6.2.0, the first release of the next long-term support version. And this is the final date. We won't postpone it anymore. So what were the main goals that we identified during the kickoff in Nuremberg? We sat together with a team of active contributors. As you might know, there's a bunch of guys at the core. The core team is now very, it's not so big, but there's a bunch of active contributors around, which are the guys that are really doing the coding. And we sat together seeing which active contributor is working on what and what can be finished for the next release. So we cannot plan on stuff that we don't know if we have the resources to make it happen. But we identified then these main goals for the next release. One, the most important one that we identified is that we want to make sure that people coming from 4.5 will be able to upgrade to 6.2 with a umbrella project called Smooth Migration. This means that we want to provide tools, documentation, and make awareness on the people on what they need or what they don't need to do when upgrading to 6.2. It doesn't mean that everything works out of the box. Extensions might be needed to be adapted, but we want to provide people with tools and information about it. We'll come to that a bit later still. The second aspect we wanted to focus on is user happiness. We want to work on usability. We want to make sure that the user experience is going into the right track, and that the experience is consistent. Next topic is a robust, stable, and secure foundation. That means that our APIs should be stable and secure, and that our the groundwork that we have in our system, the framework that people use is realistically done, so that we don't have many loose ends. And of course, we were aware, and by following the flow development, we know about the new technologies, about how the PHP world evolved, and new technologies and new standards emerged, namespacing, PHP standards came in. So we want to make sure that our CMS system is up to date with the newest technologies, but we don't want to include many experiments in the LTS version, but still bring it in sync with modern technology, so that people that want to build modern applications are able to do it with CMS also. So yes, let's take a look at some. We have lots of features, or we have plenty of new features, but the most prominent ones we'll try to show it to you. Basically, the list of new features can already be seen if you go to the release notes of the Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and Beta 1. There I usually write about, very extensively, about the new features that have been added. And of course, during the release, we'll see a more complete release note. So this is just a peek preview of what's new and what's most prominently new. One of the nice new features that were added just right before Beta 1 is the feature of responsive images. So if you might know, if you put an image and make it render in the front end, usually you get an image tag. And with this feature, you're now able to render this image tag using responsive image tags. So this is and we wanted to also make sure that this feature is configurable and customizable, because the standards for rendering responsive image is not yet, there's not the definition which will be the standard that will win at the end in the browsers war. No browsers already supports them out of the box. So there are different kinds of alternatives you can choose from, which is an image tag with source sets. A responsive image means that you define breakpoints in your website. If you do a responsive website, and then you say if the device width is smaller than 400 pixels, then load this image instead of this other image, and stuff like that. And we provide a set of defaults that you can choose through the constant editor. So it's very easy to make sure that the rendering is applied without any further knowledge. But this is configurable, and you can also adapt it to your preferences if you want to make a different kind of rendering, or if in future we discover that one new method arise that is the new standard, it can be easily adapted and implemented. So this is a future-proof way of rendering images in the front end, and also supports high-resolution image rendering, so that you can also support retina displays, for example. The new file abstraction layer, which I mentioned already, which was added in the version 6.0, is already in use during this last two releases, or in the last year that we had, since we had the version 6.0 released. And we identified during especially a code sprint called Agency Sprint that we did in August, where we invited several, I think 10 agencies and their main developers to bring their big 4.5 installation and try to upgrade or migrate to 6.2 at that time, the latest 6.2 version. So we identified lots of steps or lots of requirements those agencies had, and we identified that the migration from a DAM installation with the digital asset management extension to the new version is one of the top priorities, and there were some missing features yet in the core that we needed to include for a smooth migration to be able to happen. So this first one is not required for the smooth migration, but it's a nice feature anyway. You can, in a file list, drag and drop drag and drop files directly from into your browser, and it will upload the file. So it's a nice usability enhancement. We have a missing files handling because the file abstraction layer, if you know it, is based on on records in a database that refer to the files, so that you can do relations to these files. But what happens if you log in through FTP and delete a file? Then the relation points to a file that no longer exists. So we have a handling for this where the indexer identifies these files and flags them. So you have a reports module that is able to show you the files that are missing in your system. Then the latest addition was also the multi-language support, which is very important for people coming from DAM. This was done in 2 steps. First, we split off the metadata information in a separate table, so that the file, the physical file information is in one table, and the metadata, like the title and alt text and description and keywords, is in a separate table. And so then we are able to localize or translate using the standard TYPO3 procedures this metadata table. This is an ongoing process. This is the feature that we have in 6.2, but the plan is to support in the future version locales for translation in general of TYPO3, because there's still some issues with the current translation system in TYPO3, which is not solved by this. We wanted to have it solved for this release, but it's not possible. The concept is already there, but needs to be implemented for further versions, so that you can then have records and also files and metadata specifying which locale, this means DE or DEIT, or the different language variants you can then assign to these files. This is an ongoing project. There is a blueprint describing the concept and how we are planning to reach it, but this will be done after the release of 6.2. Then we added a default categorization to the file abstraction layer, so that every file can automatically be categorized by the editor if in the categorization tree that we have in the backend, in the core. And also we identified that people coming from DAM are used to have all those fields that they can, with metadata, that they can assign to the files, like a copyright owner, the author, the latitude, longitude, the GPS coordinates and stuff like that. And we don't provide those fields in the past. And we thought it would be useful to have those standard fields in the core, as in this case we implemented it as an optional extension that can be installed, so that other extensions don't need to implement the same fields again and again. So we have a standard set of metadata fields that can be included by installing this new extension file metadata, and other extensions can refer to that if they need it. There's still a work in progress. This is one of the exceptions I was talking about earlier for the feature freeze. We need to refactor the indexer process a bit, which will also then include an extraction interface. That means this is a feature that also is known from DAM, where you can hook with services with DAM into the DAM indexers to extract metadata from the file, so that you can read the EXIF data and save it to the file, or the video length or something like that with external tools. This is a feature that is also required. There's the last part is a media extension that's being worked in parallel to the core. It's not a part of the core. It will be an extension to TER. In an extension repository where Fabien is working on making a user interface that has more enhanced functionality for working with files. So this is an ongoing project that is going to be continued also after the release of 6.2. Next new feature or new addition we did. I put Christian Kuhn here because he is the main head behind this refactoring of our install tool. The install tool, as you might know it, came into its age and was difficult to refactor or add features to it, because it was a huge class doing everything. So Christian Kuhn took the opportunity and reworked it completely. put it in a nice structure, and it's extendable for us in the core and very easier to maintain, using also fluid templates and stuff like that. There were some usability improvements, but while doing that, so stuff I will show it shortly. There's a new feature called the core updater, which is very nice. I will show you too in a minute, and let's take a look. Means that I will show it to you. I will try it to see if it works on this screen, but it should. I heard yesterday that we shouldn't do live demos during a speech, but I will try it anyway. So if it doesn't work, it's, you know why. Exactly, the install tool, you know it, the login screen looks the same. But as soon as you log in, you see that it's a bit different already, because the menus are different. And other additions, for example, that the menus stay fixed, some usability improvement. And then you might remember that there are some tasks that are very hidden in the menu structure, like creating a user admin. Where do you create a user admin in the old install tool? Do you know it? Where it? In a database analyzer, of course. Where should you create an admin user? In a database analyzer? No, it's not the right way. So we put it in these kind of tasks, and also changing and also the database analyzer itself. It's one of the most used tools probably. So those got into important actions, like compare database analyzer, clearing all cache. This is also a requirement usually people have when going to an install tool. Everything is broken, my cache files are broken, something like that. So you go to the install tool and you have under important actions right there to clear all cache. This is a new feature which is very nice. Check for broken extensions. Also very important when upgrading to the newer version of 6.2 in this case. You upgrade the sources and suddenly the backend doesn't work anymore, because some extension calls some function that's not there anymore. Fatal error. You don't see it, a blank page. The install tool is now conceived in a way that it doesn't load any extension by default. So if you go through all the menus, it doesn't require or doesn't use any extension that is installed. So it's crash proof, more or less. So the checked extensions is a tool where you can go, and it will by loading every extension one after the other through an AJAX request, it's able to detect which extension is crashing your system. And you will get, in this case, everything is okay, but if you get an extension that brings a fatal error or an exception or something, then you will have a link here or a button to deinstall this extension, so that you are able to log into the backend again and then fix the issue in the installation, going to install tool. This is the new feature I was talking about, the core updater. It's also under important actions. It allows you to very easily check if there is an update to your installation. It fetches here I'm not connected to the VLAN yet. So it fetches the information from the version availability, and it detects if there is an update available. This works if you have a standard configuration, if you have a symlink in your upper directory called TYPO3 source, which is usually the case, and then it's able to fetch the new version, replace the symlink, and then make sure that it works. And this update is done also through asynchronous AJAX requests, so that you are so that it's pretty stable. And also changing the install tool is an important action, encryption key, and here creating a backend administration user. This is also an important action. You also see here that we added some badges when there are some bugs. For example, the system environment, you might know there are some checks which the install tool and also the reports module does to identify PHP settings which might cause some problems in your installation, and you see it right away. There is something red here. In this case, I put it I put the setting there so that you can see something. But if you have any setting or which is strange, then you go here and you see what you might need to adapt. Another nice feature is the configuration presets. You might know that there are 10 settings regarding error handling and debug exception handling and error exception handling and so on. It's very difficult for a newbie to understand what exactly should be configured for their system to be in a production mode or for being in a development mode. So this configuration presets allows us as in a core to provide some recommended setups for, in this case, for production and for development settings. Or it provides an easy way to configure your character set conversion. So they are the available methods that we can configure, and it will detect which one is available on the system, in this case only MB string, and we'll put them also in the order that is recommended. In this case you see the core handling is slow. This is why it's warning it's not recommended, because you have MB string installed. So this also helps the new user to understand or how they can set up their system. Many of these settings, or most of these settings are already also done in the step installer, because the install tool also is used for the new installation of TYPO3. You go into the install tool and it will detect the most recommended settings and set them automatically for the new user installing the system. So the new installation will get a pretty good default already, which is also, for example, the production configuration. The folder structure is a feature that we want to enhance or modify a bit still. It detects permission problems and is able to fix it, but it turned out that it's very difficult to find a permission setup that's good for everybody, because there are so many variants on web servers and PHP, ways of integrating PHP and stuff. So the permission handling will be adapted a bit, and we will probably remove the automatically fixing that's being done right now. So if you try to install the beta or alpha versions and you got some errors like I fixed the permission, yes, I know, fix it, and then nothing happens, nothing works anymore. This feature will be removed, and we won't have this problem anymore. It's up to the user or the administrator to configure their system. Exactly. Yeah, other stuff is known. The all configuration is, as you know it looks a bit nicer maybe. There's the right configuration button that's also in the bottom always. But basically this is the new install tool. With the new install tool comes also the concept that we don't provide a blank and a dummy package anymore, because they don't make sense. The blank and the dummy packages, they contain the folder structure that's recommended for kickstarting a new installation, but the new core allows you to simply unpack them in the document root, and it will auto-create the folder structure required for a blank installation. So this is a new addition that will come to this feature also here in a minute. So this is more or less the install tool. Let's see if this works. Yeah, let's take a look. It worked. So I come to this new feature also that's combined with what I just said. The TYPO3 source, as we know it, is now the new blank package. And then what happens to the introduction and the government package, as we know it, these packages in the past included the whole core, included the file structure, included the extension that are required by this package in specific, and we packaged those packages through when releasing a new version of TYPO3. What's new in version 6.2 is that we provide a way in the extension manager to install packages afterwards. So you go through the blank installation, you do the installation steps, and through the extension manager, you're able to install an additional package, which will be the introduction package, the government package, and the responsive package that is being worked on. So basically, this feature allows us to maintain. And how does it work? It provides an API where you can have an extension in the extension repository. It's tagged then as a distribution or a package, a distribution, I think. And as soon as you install the distribution, it will download this extension, just like any other extension. It will install the extension, but it will also create a file tree by importing an export file that it's included in the extension. It will create files that are shipped with the extension, like the media files or the required resources. And it will be able to fetch, of course, extensions that are dependent on, that this extension depends on. So that you can have a small package containing a demo site, a responsive site, a theme sites, or any other kind of package that a user can install very easily through the extension manager. So this API will be very useful also for agencies or for hosting companies which want to provide their users with some pre-configured distributions. And only the core itself needs to be installed first. So there are other goodies that we added. We are just briefly going through it because of time constraints. But you can ask our team or myself afterwards if you're interested. There are some usability cleanups, which is still a work in progress. The usability team went through the screens, and we have some things we have to fix still until the final release. Backend layout data provider is a nice addition that came from the community. Which allows you might know the backend layouts are those records where you can define how the page module looks like and how the columns are displayed. So this allows extensions to provide or to ship their own backend layouts. And this is, I think, the themes, the guys working on the themes extension already did a session or will do it, I'm not sure, but they will use this feature also. Maybe they mentioned it. We have a logging API. We didn't manage to go as far as we wanted with this project, which was to replace the whole core calls to the logging with the new logger API. This was at the end too much or too complex in the with the old calls we had, but at least we have a logging API that is TYPO3 compatible. That means that it's compatible with standards that are being set in the PHP community. So if you install some extension or some package that logs through that requires a TYPO3 logger, we have this in our core. Salted passwords by default means that we no longer store MD5 hashes in the install tool and also for backend users, but they are always stored as salted passwords, which makes it more secure. Also the install tool, which is a nice addition. The new documentation module, which you can click around if you go to the help documentation. This is a whole new module created by Xavier, which works by providing an access to the documentation of the extensions you have installed locally, but also to documentation provided by the documentation team. You can download through this module the documentation from the documentation site and have it locally inside your backend, for example, the TSRef or the core API documentation nicely integrated. One of the latest addition is the support for flow packages and Composer. This is an addition that completely changed the way the TYPO3 core loads their extensions. We included a package from Flow, which is the complete the package handling, and we enhanced it so that it can work with the specifics of TYPO3 extensions. So the TYPO3 extensions are a specific type of package, but the core is able to load packages from regular flow packages, which only need to have a Composer JSON file, for example. This will allow in future then people to working with a flow application to have it integrated into the CMS system also, so that we can maybe share some of the better share the code that we have in the flow and the CMS world. And there are many more tiny and bigger additions that you might want to read in the roadmaps. But I wanted to finish with an important thing, which is the project called the Smooth Migration. Steffen Ritter was the candidate that took over the job of working on this task, and this is not a tool, and this is not an extension, but it's a project which it's on Forge if you want to check it out, which is working on providing information and providing ways of people or predictable ways of upgrading from 4.5 to 6.2. So we have one of the achievements was during the agency sprint, which I mentioned before, where the agencies came together. We worked on an upgrade report extension. This upgrade report extension is a useful tool you can install on your 4.5 installation, and then click a button to check this installation. How compatible is this with 6.2? So it will bring you a list of issues, like a checklist. These and this and this things in these extensions need to be adapted. So then you usually can think about, is there an update maybe from the extension author in TR, or if it's your own extension, you can maybe make an offer to your customer. These and these things need to be adapted. We need this amount of time. So this is a very nice extension, and we need also help to identify more issues and make it more complete, this checker extension. This is what are the to-dos still. The documentation and awareness, I will try to bring more awareness now here to this stage. The upgrade from 4.5 to 6.2, even though there are many releases in between, and it's not so difficult as you might expect. If you first time see the 6.2 code or the 6.x code, you will notice everything changed place and everything, the classes are called differently, and there is no T3lib directory anymore. Some people might expect that we rewritten the whole core. This is not the case. We just moved the files to another place, and the classes that you are used to work with are still in the same, we have the same names as before, because we use a class alias to provide a backwards compatible way of working with the class names. So if you in your extension call T3lib div something, it will still work in a 6.2. And also a rumor that's going around is that we don't support the PI base extensions anymore. This is also not true, because the TS-lib PI base class is still there, and it can still be used, and it's not deprecated even. So older extensions will most probably still work. There is an effect of having removed the T3lib directory, is that as soon as you do a require once on one file of this in this directory, this won't work anymore. So the solution is simply to remove the require once for core files and simply you simply use the class, because since version 4.3 already we have an autoloader in core which is able to find where the class is defined. And of course our autoloader knows that if someone calls T3lib div, where to find the new class and then load it for you. So it's very easy to update, or if you upgrade to 6.2 and you get fatal required file not found or something like that, simply remove the required ones in your extensions, and many extensions in TR, of the most popular ones, already did that. So simply contact the author of the extension if it's not done yet, or do it in your own extensions if you need it. So the migration is doable and possible, but as I said in the beginning, there were some methods and some deprecated parts that are not available anymore. So you have to check for your own the deprecation log in 4.5, and have to check if the methods that you are using in an extension are available or not. But yeah, I think the time is over now. No live demo, as I supposed. I have one question I want to ask you. Have you contributed to 6.2 yet? And if you have contributed to it, or if you have tried and you have not managed to do it, maybe you want to share some thoughts if it's difficult to contribute or not. Because our team has little resources, and we want to make sure everybody is able to contribute, because our 6.2 version is a community-based product that comes from the community. As you've seen, many features come from the community. And I wanted to ask you, have you contributed to TYPO3? Do you have some experience with contributing something? Yes, you have contributed? So the workflow worked for you. because I hear from time to time people try to contribute, I got demotivated because the barriers are too high, or the core developers, they don't respond. There are some things that are evident. We have little resources and we cannot respond to everything, but we want to make sure that it's easier to reach us and to talk to us, because we are, some of us are here, or also through the mailing list. You shouldn't be afraid of getting in touch or criticizing something or discussing stuff with us. So I think the time is over. We don't have many time for many questions here now, but we are still around here. With me, I mean the core developers and the active contributors which are here in the conference. So you can ask me questions during the coffee break, for example, and I can, maybe I don't have the answer, but I can direct you to some person that might have an answer. So thank you for being here, and I hope you like the new version that's coming out soon. Thanks.